Well, what would a show be like without technical difficulties, Ryan? That's what I have to ask you. I think I finally have you on. We've been waiting for about an hour, but I think we're finally situated.
Yeah, it seems like these past couple times, especially when we've been trying to record, it always seems like something happens with the mics or the internet connection or on Zoom. But we're I think we finally got it together here this morning. So now it's time to talk about Geno now.
A long 4-day weekend before we dive into the topic today and focus on the best head coach in women's basketball ever, huh? Head coach Geno. How about a shout out to actually we had a couple people approach us last night and they said, there they are, Phil and Rye from Listen Up. And we're always representing with our UConn hats, right? So we just want to I think we have our answer. Not only are they listening to us up at UConn, but they're listening back here at home, Ryan, in Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah, it's very cool to see. Very awesome to see people out in public like that. And it's definitely fun. So as always, we thank you guys. We always appreciate you guys tuning in, liking the video, subscribing, and especially the comments. I know you love reading them. I love answering the comments. So just thank you guys.
And I guess your favorite part, I can probably guess, of last night was the firework display.
Yeah, it
It
was
is nothing like you're like Phil. We have to leave. It was Baker Park, Frederick, Maryland, for people that are back home in UConn that don't know this area. So Baker Park, we have like a bell tower, a band shell, and they have every 4th of July. They have from like 9 in the morning, Ryan, until nighttime, around 9, 10 at night when the fireworks go off. A day full of events for kids, family, and anybody that wants to go down. And I think Ryan's favorite part, of course, you told me, I think Phil, during the grand finale of firework display, we're going to have to run out of here so we don't hit traffic going out of the city. And that's exactly what I did, right? I took off out of down, just tell them how it was after that grand finale. Man, we were out of there.
Yeah, the fireworks are great as always. Always appreciate a good fireworks show on the 4th of July. But yeah, man, after after that finale of the fireworks, Phil took off and ran, and we had to try to keep up with him out of the park there, so he didn't hit any traffic on the way home.
But overall, a very good 4-day weekend, huh? And I'm glad that hopefully you had some time to relax, right?
Yeah, had a very
Okay.
good 4th of July weekend. Hope everybody did out there as well.
All right. Now, going into the topic of today, Ryan, I know you couldn't wait for this one to continue the series. This is the last coach on the list for this series, and then we'll dive into the players and start with from the bottom all the way to the top, number one player on the roster, in our opinion. I think we already know who that is. But yeah, Ryan, number one head coach, arguably the best ever. I don't think that it's even close, Ryan. This is the mastermind behind it all of what we've been seeing for years and years and years. Head coach Geno Auriemma. Ryan, what do you have for Luigi Auriemma?
Well, I guess I'll start with all his accolades and then get to some of the off court stuff. But Gino entering his 38th season this year at UConn. He arrived 1985 with Chris Daly. We already did an episode on her. That was our last video. Go check that one out if you guys haven't seen that one already. But the program just had one winning season when he arrived in 1985. 37 years now at the end of last season. Geno's led the Huskies to 54 conference championships, 22 Final Fours, 6 perfect seasons, and 11 national championships. Unbelievable stats, unbelievable stuff from Geno and the coaching staff throughout all the years. Just an incredible head coach in person, too. Geno inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame and the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame in 2006. Became the 4th women's head coach to reach 1,000 wins on December 19th, 2017. Best win percentage in the sport of women's college basketball of all time. Earned the Naismith National Coach of the Year 8 times, AP Coach of the Year 9 times, and the list of accolades just keeps on going on and on. But that's a short, summed up list of some of his greatest accolades and rewards throughout all the years he's been coaching the UConn Huskies. But all those accolades and achievements are great, but I think what he does with this program off the court is very important as well, and definitely needs to be talked about. UConn has a 100% graduation rate among four-year student athletes. So it's amazing stuff what they're doing with all these student athletes up in UConn. That's very, very impressive. Student athletes, as we all know, if you follow this team very, very closely off the court as well, you know how much the team participates in community service and outreach very frequently, their time off the court, which is very, very good to see. And one last thing I wanted to bring up, Geno has had 43 of his players drafted into the WNBA, which is very, very impressive. I think that's one of the most important things with all the success that he's had, being able to transform these players into WNBA talent is something that is really, really great to see for the sport of women's basketball. Being able to transform all these women into professional talent and just carrying their lives over to the WNBA and making sure that they're ready for that league and they have success in that league. And not only in the WNBA, but like we've seen in the past with all his assistant coaches going on to sometimes work for him, like on the staff for this year and the past couple years. But the players going on to be head coaches elsewhere. It's just really great to see all the way around.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because of the players, the amount of players that have gone. It's not people just saying, all right, because they went to UConn, they're going to get looked at right away by the league, the WNBA. It's always not like that, and it's I looked up last night just to take a little bit of time to get prepared for this, and the thing that stood out to me was kind of ties into what you said about leadership and what's so important about coaching in sports. And not only in sports in general, but in life. I always say that I tie it to life every time, everyday life is leadership. Who is going to stand up when leadership is needed the most and take accountability of what's right, what's wrong, put it on their back and take the leadership. Because I saw where it says leadership coaching that can help leaders more accurately examine their weak points, gain better perspective about their abilities, and how to better make use of them. And I'm like, whoa, I'm like, that clearly identifies Geno to the max because it's so hard. And I feel like a lot of head coaches, they'll focus on a player's strengths when they come out of high school into college, but their weakness. And I think that's what separates Geno from so many other coaches. He brings out the weakness in these ball players. But guess what? By the time, not all of them, but most of them, by the time they're hitting their junior, senior year and they're ready to be drafted, if they're being looked at, that weakness, Ryan, has already turned into another strength. That's what makes these UConn players, as you just said, drafted by the WNBA. There's really, you can always work to get better, but guess what? There's really no weakness at the end of the day.
Yeah, and especially not only in the WNBA, but like I also said, these players going on to be assistant coaches or head coaches elsewhere around women's college basketball around the league. It is really great to see. And what other system is better to learn from other than Geno's? And I think that's why all these coaches are so great at, like you said, identifying everybody's strengths and weaknesses. More importantly, their weaknesses as well. And especially bringing these players up from high school, getting them ready for, much, much greater and higher level of competition out of all these women. And, the hardest part, getting them ready for the ultimate test, which is the WNBA. So it's really incredible what Geno's done for the program on the court with all the success and conference titles, national championships, and all the wins and success that he's brought to UConn, really put them on the map as the greatest women's college basketball program of all time. But just what he's done with all the student athletes, making sure they all graduate, keeping those grades up and expanding their careers to assistant coaches, head coaches, or WNBA players. It's truly incredible what he's done for the program.
I want everyone watching this to comment away. Tell us what impresses you the most when it comes to Geno Auriemma. There's so many things on that resume that stacks up, Ryan. And I told you pick one thing if you can before you come on this show. on the podcast today. And I'm still trying to debate whether or not it's the 11 NCAA Division I tournament championships. And he had a run from 13 to 16.
Yeah.
So he had them championships back to back to, what was that? Back to back to back, 13 to 16 all in a row. And then I'm trying to just think, all right, is that more impressive, or is the overall coaching record more impressive? Of 1,149 wins and only 150 losses. Ryan, that's an 885. 885. Let me say it one more time. That's an 885 winning percentage. All right. I really don't know what's more impressive. I'm still, and I don't think that I'll make my mind up. Maybe everyone can make their mind up for me and for you and I by the end of this podcast today, because I'm not too sure I'm going to be able to make my mind up what's more impressive going through this whole resume by the end of this show today.
Yeah, and another thing is about those 1,000 wins that I mentioned he got in 2017. He was the fastest to do that. He only needed 1,135 games, so he was 1,135 when he got to that mark. So
yeah,
it's just incredible. But the 11 national championships, and we talked about a little about this before off camera as well. Most coaches or even athletes are lucky enough to just win one. But it's incredible for one coach to win 11 national championships. Now he's been there for 37 years, but 11 national championships is just incredible. I mean, it leaves me speechless when I try to comprehend how amazing that is, because most coaches are lucky enough to even have a chance to get in the Final Four and reach the national championship, and to not only get there, but to win it all. It's just truly incredible that he's able to get to the Final Four so many times. And last year was his only loss in a national championship. He's 11-1 now, but to win 11 of them is just amazing.
It is. It's almost like not real life. It almost reminds me of.
Not.
It almost reminds me of getting on the sticks with Dalton and on a 2K NBA game and stacking up my franchise like he stacks up his team just to win, and just winning 11 titles on a video game.
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's really, at the end of the day, that's how it looks. It looks more or less like a video game and not real life. But
it really does. Yeah,
but
it
it's
really
real
does.
life. It's real life. Hey, with that said, Ryan, I told you, I said Geno's almost like the John Wooden of men's basketball. So Geno is for women and John Wooden was for men. I think it's safe to say that definitely he stacks up against a great head coach. If you're comparing a men's head coach, men's basketball head coach, and a women's basketball head coach, I think that it's safe to say, we talked about that with our family. We got together on Sunday for the 4th of July party that we had. As a head coach, John Wooden, 10-time NCAA champion. So there's 10. Geno already has more than John Wooden. And John Wooden, Ryan, if you remember, he was nicknamed the Wizard of Westwood.
Yeah.
And I think now let's just say Geno, the Wizard of UConn, the basketball capital of the world.
Yeah, and Wooden won those titles with UCLA, right? He was the coach of UCLA. And like we were talking with our family, like you mentioned, they said, obviously we weren't around when he won most of those titles, but they said UCLA, they couldn't be beat. I mean, it's almost like you automatically knew they were going to have almost a perfect record and just run through all the teams in the tournament and win the title. And at some points in Geno's career with UConn, it seems like the mindset's the same exact way when they went on that amazing win streak, 100+ games and undefeated. And the conference win streak that got snapped this past year was incredible as well. But his runs of straight Final Fours and winning 3 or 4 NCAA titles in a row is just incredible. So it's almost like years in past, it's like UConn, they're gonna go at least go to the Final Four, if not win it all. So it is truly incredible.
How about some comments for Ryan, and then we will get you out of here. BBWNG 54. In my opinion, I think Chris will retire when Geno retires. She has turned down offers to be head coach elsewhere. She's voiced many times that she is happy to stay at Connecticut. She does not like to be in the limelight. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I found that interesting that Coach Daly has never taken another head coaching offer because obviously she definitely deserves one, and I'm sure
Mm,
she's gotten many and many of phone calls every single off season. I'm sure there's
just like you
been
were getting phone calls before he came on today.
yeah.
You said it rang about 5 times this morning.
No, man, that was terrible. But I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure for Chris Daly, she's turned down. I'm sure she can't even count the amount of the head coaching offers that she's gotten. But I think I do agree with that as well. I think as soon as Geno decides that he's going to hang up the towel and finally call it his time at UConn and retire, I think Chris Daly is also gone as well. They came in together in 1985, and I think when Geno decides it's time, I think Chris Daly is gonna go out with Geno as well.
And that's wild to think. I know excuse me, diehard UConn fans don't want to even think about that day, but can you imagine like the both of them leaving at the same time? It's hard to imagine like if it's we'll have to have an episode just for that, to predict would even be the new head coach of UConn women's basketball. Will it even be a face that anybody's even thinking about? Because we talked about it. There's surprises in life everywhere. There's some people are full of surprises, Ryan. Front offices of sports, they're full of surprises. It may be someone that no one has any clue about to step in after Geno is gone.
It could be, but I find that very hard to believe, especially because of how. I mean, I guess Geno probably probably wouldn't have a say if he retires,
All
but
right.
I think the mentality that UConn has is the system that Geno is under. But I mean, I guess you never know, but it's hard to tell who could become the head coach. But I would think that UConn would probably hire maybe a former player. It's somebody that's even on the roster right now as assistant coach, just that
Yeah.
has the same that UConn mentality and mindset.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, with the stronger program as they are, I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
But again, it may not be a coach that's on the active roster right now.
Yeah.
How about JHE? I was hoping that UConn will get a strong, tall, and experienced post player to replace ONO, as Ice and Ayana are still new, to really prepare them against South Carolina, a team to defeat to get the championship trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little surprising, but I think Lou is going to be a great player. And we also have to remember Aaliyah's been here for 3 years as well. This is her junior year. And Dorka as well. She had a whole year of experience under Geno's system. She had a great year last year. So I think she's really, her and Aaliyah are going to be great kind of teachers and kind of teaching Ice Brady and Ayana the way the system works and how they can succeed and get minutes at UConn, make an impact on the team. And I think also Lou has a lot of experience. Not really sure what role she's going to play. She is kind of a big guard, so she could probably even play that 3 or 4 spot if she needed to be, kind of like we saw of Vina Westbrook last year. But I think UConn's in pretty good hands with Dorka and Aaliyah.
I don't think Nika, Page, or Aaliyah will use that extra year. This is Iva, by the way. Geno did say he doesn't want players to take extra year. Kristen Williams and Nelson Adoda could have used that year, but didn't. And they did miss one NCAA tournament because it was canceled because of COVID. As for the money thing, it's not everything about money. But if she wants more money, she will get endorsement deals, or she will go to Europe to earn way more than in WNBA. Playing in Europe and getting summer off, I don't know who did come up with bright idea of playing in the summer. Players did say they would love to play on winter time. Yeah, well, I tell you what, there's a whole lot of people out there that will not even get into the discussion about women's basketball because it's a simple fact they don't care about it. I think that's very embarrassing when you put yourself out there like that. With
Yep.
that said, Ryan, it's always something to discuss. Even if you don't strictly agree on certain topics, there's always something to discuss. And that's just showing your lack of knowledge, in my opinion, when you don't lay your opinions out on the table and come to an agreement.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting conversation in terms of college athletes, men and women, earning money. I know a lot of people support that and a lot of people that don't. But it definitely is a very interesting conversation that a lot of people have an opinion about. But I mean, if the college players make money, they get their name out there. It's a pretty great opportunity for them because Paige Becker is obviously is, in my opinion, the face of women's college basketball right now, and she has been ever since she came to UConn and just lit the whole league on fire. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see in the next couple of years if the trend becomes players going overseas and playing for more money, because we brought it up before about the WNBA. The women really don't make that much money, and it's really sad to see, because I think I mentioned this on the last episode. Steph Curry probably makes more money than what the women make all year, what he makes in one playing one or two games. So it's pretty sad, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And I want a lot of people to comment away and tell us how that is fair. How is that fair? I just don't understand it. Maybe they will come up with a conclusion or a and an idea that will take care of all this, huh? But we we expect it to take about 10 years, huh? Or more,
Maybe
Ryan.
longer. Yeah,
Maybe
maybe
longer.
longer.
All right, Ryan. Hey, why don't you hit the road, Ryan, before the rain comes? I see it says rain coming down at the bottom of the computer screen. So why don't we get you on the road, Ryan, before these storms come? And we will be back in on Friday morning. It's Phil and Rye on Listen Up.